Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Holding Court here on the First Day Hoops Report YouTube channel. I'm, of course, FSHR holding editor, founding editor, Chris Stevens. Hopefully, you all are doing well this Sunday. Got a couple more days of stillness before the basketball tournament begins, and that's what we're going to talk about this week on Holding Court. All the information, if you want to catch up with us on social media, visit our website, all that stuff, contact us if you have, some questions, comments, concerns, or feedback. Gonna be in the description below. And if you notice, I cut my hand this morning doing some housework. I'm not really a handy person, but I tried anyway. So that's what the bandage is for. Like, I talk with my hands. So if you see this bandage, hey, things happen. Things happen. And that's what we're gonna get to. Things happening with the brackets. If you missed that bit of drama, I wouldn't call it drama. Well, I'm not even talking about the stuff that I addressed on Twitter on Friday. I'll get to that in a second. But if you missed it, DIAA released the brackets at 2:30 during a show. And then again, we'll discuss that in a minute. And then had to re-release the boys brackets because of some errors that may or may not have been resolved, depending on the coaches you ask. The original boys bracket had, let me find this here. Original boys bracket had Sal's at number 4, Appoquinimink at number 5, Tower Hill at number 6. The new bracket has Tower Hill at number 4, Sal's at number 5, and Apple still at 6, so it didn't change too much. However, if you're Taylor Trevison, and we talked on Friday, obviously, if you missed our first ever live stream, I'm so thankful to everybody that came on board. Yeah, let me get that thank you out of the way to Coach Dan Pisani of Archmere, his captains, Bryn Bastian Pastor, Lady Scarpacey, Sarah Denning. Thank you, ladies, for coming on. And Coach Curtis Clack from the Howard Girls, Taylor Trevison from the South Boys, and Aziz Ali from the Middletown Boys. Thank you all for coming on. We had a great conversation. It was a great live stream. Probably going to try to do it again once we get to the Bob, so be on the lookout for that. But if you're Taylor Trevison and if you're Patrick Kaiser of Tower Hill, you're 38 hot right now because you're preparing for one team or 3 or 4 teams on one side of the bracket, and then your whole game plan gets switched out because somebody didn't really calculate things correctly. And again, if you ask, depending on the coaches you ask, it's still not calculated correctly. So here we are. And if you're unfamiliar with how I do things around here, I'm very critical of how people treat basketball in Delaware because I grew up in this. It's important to note I did not play high school basketball. My lone experience of any varsity kind was I played maybe 25 minutes on Howard High football team my senior year, 1998. I had 1 tackle. I have 1 finger that is misshapen from that particular experience. But I wouldn't trade it for the world. But no, I was not a star athlete by any stretch of the imagination, but I always loved sports, always loved journalism. And then, of course, going to every basketball game that I could because basketball was my first love. So I'm very critical of how the administration, like DIAA, certain schools that don't take basketball seriously, it's frustrating to me. It's very frustrating to me. And it's probably more frustrating to the players that play and the fans and the parents that want to see their kids shine and see their teams win. Because there's no reason that basketball has a bracket issue 2 years in a row. If you recall last year, Del Castle, who made it this year, shouts out to Chris Laws. I know he's happy he's not on the wrong end of this time around, but Del Castle was originally the 24 seed last year. And Polytech had played a team, I can't remember the name. I know it was from Brooklyn, New York. I know that much. And someone had added, because it was a team with a similar name that played in Pennsylvania. Now the committee counted the points from the Pennsylvania school and not the Brooklyn school that Polytech played. So they had to redo the brackets again. Polytech gets an extra point. They get past Del Castle. Del Castle sitting home through no fault of their own. Polytech gets into the tournament, even though they should have been in the first place. And I understand their frustration. I understand now why they were so doggone good this year, 15-5 and winning Henlopen North. But it doesn't happen with other sports. You don't get a miscalculation of points in football. You don't get a miscalculation of points in volleyball, in soccer, in boys and girls lacrosse, in baseball and softball. It just doesn't happen. And nobody seems to understand that there's a, sort of a unspoken thing about it. I mean, we can call a spade all day long, but y'all are smart people. Y'all can figure it out. But basketball getting shortchanged is why so many of these kids leave. And we talked about this. We talked about this on Friday with Coach Trevison and Coach Ali. That these kids leave because because the people in basketball, that people in Delaware that are supposed to take basketball seriously don't take basketball seriously. And that is a bone of contention of mine, has been since I started this project on my own back in 2019. There's just no way that you can convince me that a softball bracket would go out at 2:30 and then somebody realize, wait a minute, we miscounted. Let's run it back and have it out 6 hours later. No, they're going to stay in the room and get it right the first time around because they have deference and reverence for that sport. Football, it would never happen in football that there would be a team that's like, okay, Friends has this many bonus points. So they're going to be the third seed. And then it's like, wow, wait a minute. We forgot to count this team. So now we got to move St. Mark's down to number 2. We got to move Howard down to number 4. We got to take Red Lion out from number 1 and make Friends number 1. This is just an example, by the way. This is just like, a hypothetical. But it doesn't happen in these sports. It simply doesn't. And for basketball to always get the short end of the stick is disingenuous, it's disrespectful, and it's sinister on a deeper level because it just doesn't happen. Because the people who are charged with caring about these sports, they care about the sports that, have certain demographics to them. Just put it out there. Just putting it out there. And basketball gets the short end of the stick every single time, and it is annoying as all get out. Every coach I've talked to, every family member or fan or parent that I've talked to has asked me, Chris, WTF? And I'm like, I'm right with y'all. WTF? I don't get it. It's like none of this should happen. It just doesn't happen to other sports, and it shouldn't happen to basketball. Basketball deserves the same amount of respect, same amount of resources, same amount of care, same amount of publicity as every other sport in this state. That's why First State Hoops Report exists. Anyway, you had to get that off my chest. There's one more thing I'm going to get off my chest near the end. So if you want to skip to where did I start talking? Okay, so we're going to start talking about the tournament at the 7:50-ish mark. So if you want to skip ahead to 8 minutes in when I start talking about the actual brackets, cool. And then once I get towards the end, if you want to skip past the end, you're more than welcome to do that. But I'm going to say what I got to say and get it over with. That being said, boys tournament, the official bracket. First round matchups are happening on Tuesday, February 28th, and 16 seed Conrad hosts Mount Pleasant. Talked to Coach Chris McClain at the Blue Hen Conference Championship games. He's very much looking forward to that. This is the first time in a non-pandemic setting that Conrad has a really good chance and a strong team. Of course, the winner of that gets number 1 Middletown. So, I mean, that could be, a little hairy at some points. But Conrad, I like their chances in this when they beat Mount by 20 the first time around. It's harder to beat a team the second time around. It's definitely going to be harder to beat them by 20. So I think Mount's going to show up, obviously. But Conrad has a really good chance in that one. Number 9, Caravel takes on number 24, Cape Henlopen. That might be the game of the first round. When you take into account that Caravel has John Clemens, Dom Wyatt, Miles White, Trevor Webster, and Cape is coming in with Jack Shell, Drew Zimmerman, Ty Tolson. That's going to be a scoring bonanza. I think you're going to have to really much make sure you are able to turn your neck every which way because points are going to come fast and furious to that. Winner of that one gets number 8 Sanford, and that's going to be another good one regardless. Those of us who were absolutely shocked that Caravel kind of took Sanford to the woodshed a couple of weeks ago definitely want to see a rematch with that, definitely on Sanford's home floor. But Cape has just as good a chance to beat Caravel as any other 24 seed would. So that's going to be a great first round matchup. Number 13, Wilmington Friends plays number 20, Del Castle. Once again, Del Castle did not get the shaft this year in the brackets. They're in. They will face Friends, who was the third team in the independent conference behind Sanford and Tower Hill. And Friends, once again, because I went to go see Dean Shepard score his 1,000th point, and I did not realize that those dudes weren't just football big; they were basketball big too. The Tattersall brothers, Ish Dobson. It's like, let me tuck in my chain like Red so I don't get snatched like Debo. Like, oh my gosh, these guys are really like 6'5". Wow. Yeah, Friends is huge. And that is going to be a point of emphasis for Del Castle, for Chris Laws to kind of sort of get those guys in foul trouble as quickly as he can. Aiden Laws, Rashid, Ushery Henry, that's their, those are their main two guns. Very talented young players. If they can get started, I think they can outscore Friends. But if it turns into a physical plotting game, that favors Friends a little more. Winner of that will get defending state champion number 4, Tower Hill. Of course, led by Dean and Dylan Shepard. Freshman guard Kevin Coleman has come on in recent weeks. Still very much a threat. I know people are like, we talked about this amongst ourselves in the media, that the one thing Tower Hill doesn't have that they had last year is Davis Bland shooting the lights out. That is going to be a huge loss, but it's not something that Coach Kaiser and his staff can't overcome, especially when you have Dean and Dylan Shepard. They're still very much a threat. Number 12, Polytech, Henlopen North champ, will face number 21, Tatnall. Tatnall won the game in the regular season as an opener, and it turned out to be the one that got them in the tournament because they won a head-to-head tiebreaker against Odessa. Odessa's coming in the future, though. Don't get me wrong. That team is 13-7, and they have no seniors. I don't think they even have any seniors. They have a couple of seniors next year, but it's mostly just sophomores and juniors next year. Odessa's coming. Don't sleep on Odessa, but Tatnall was able to beat them in the regular season opener, and that turned out to be the game that got them into the tournament. They've got talent, though. Markel Fitzgerald is a really good guard. Isaiah Sales is a 6'5" forward who can score. Poly, of course, has the big three or big four if you want to count Brett Shelton-Hoskins. Got Darrell Little, who should probably be first team All-State. Kyle Gamber and Xavier Brewington will probably get like second team consideration. This Polytech team didn't, and of course they didn't have to worry about any drama with the brackets this year. They took care of their business. And the winner of that will get number 5, Salesianum. And I'm going to be honest with you. I like Sally's a lot, and this isn't just because I just had Taylor Trevison on my show. But that Poly game is one that they should take very seriously. Poly can score. It doesn't matter where they are. I mean, obviously against Seaford yesterday, it was a different ballgame, but Seaford just has like weapons on top of weapons. We'll talk about Seaford and Middletown in a second. But if I'm Sally's and if Polytech is able to beat Tatnall, they should probably have maximum preparation. I mean, they're obviously going to be well prepared anyway because Sal's has a great coaching staff. But Poly, I like their chances in that one. I mean, Sal's, this is a team that could win the state championship, but Poly could possibly throw a wrench in their plans rather quickly. So that one I'm very much looking forward to if that turns out to be the second round matchup. Number 15, Dover will host number 18, Archmere, and the winner of that will get number 2, Seaford. Dover has Jaheim Harrell, who can get buckets in abundance. I mean, he obviously scored 50 in the game where he reached the 1,000-point mark. That's not a problem for him. You still have Denham Perkins, one of the underrated point guards in the state, freshman guard Javion Dennis, who can score the ball. That Dover team doesn't have the experience, but they still have the toughness. And, of course, when you have a lead dog like Ja on your team, you're never out of it. Archmere is going to want to keep this thing in like the 30s because if Dover can get to about 50 or 60, it's a wrap. But I know Coach Bill Ludlow is going to have his team well prepared, led by Chris Albero and Matt McCarthy, two guys who can score and play good defense. Dover might just have too many weapons for Archmere. I mean, if Archmere can keep it in like the 30s and the 40s, they can have a shot. But if Dover gets to like 55 or 60, it's on to the second round. Number 10, St. George's versus number 23, Hodson in the rare interconference matchup in the first round. 7 Flight A teams made the tournament. Got to be a record. And Newark was last place team at number 8 at 8-12. They weren't that far behind in the points. So Flight A is this tournament has a heavy Flight A flavor. And it's going to continue because the winner of that, of St. George's Hodson, gets number 7, William Penn. So that is a Flight A row. That is a Flight A row. And Penn is looking to kind of avenge what happened to them last year in the second round of the tournament when they had a first round bye and they had probably just a little more depth and they were upset by St. Mark's. So Gary Lumpkin is going to have his guys on high alert. That should be a fun second round matchup if St. George's advances. Probably going to be a fun second round matchup if Hodson advances. Number 14, Indian River versus 19, Lake Forest. Another rare interconference matchup between Henlope and South teams. Lake and Indian River are much improved. Indian River finished 10-10 last year. Lake Forest, I think, was either 8-12 or 7-13, and now they're 12-8. The winner of that will get number 3, Howard. And Howard is a team that is interesting on the surface because they have the athletes, but they still have to find the shooting. They looked better yesterday in the Blue Hen, in the first half anyway. First half of the Blue Hen Conference game against Middletown, they looked a lot better than the first time around when they absolutely got hammered at Unlock the Light down at Chase Fieldhouse. Howard's going to have to find some shooting somewhere. It probably won't bother them until the quarters, and I'll tell you why in a second. But that's a team that if they had one guy that could just, everybody on the team can score, but there are times when they just can't hit the well on shots. And I'm not saying these are bad basketball players. Obviously, as a Howard alum, I would never say that. I mean, I talk to these kids all the time. I wish them the best, but they got to find some shooting. It's probably not going to matter because they can be athletic as well as all get out and make life miserable for either IR or Lake. But it's going to get a little tougher as you get into the further rounds. Which brings me to the last matchup of the first round of the boys bracket. Number 11, Laurel, Henlope and South runner-up, faces number 22, Woodbridge, another Henlope and South team, another interconference matchup. The winner of that will get number 6, Appoquinimink. And Laurel, I like their chances against Apple because they have size, they have physicality, they can score, and Apple is going to have to find someone to replace Hodge Bell. Unfortunately, Hodge isn't going to be able to play in the state tournament. That's a huge loss for Apple. They have guys, though. I mean, Christian Barksdale, blue gold player, first team All-Flight A. Daniel Harvey, the point guard. Eric Mathing is back from his hand injury. Riley Busby's a spot-up shooter that they can rely on. They're going to be a tough out, but I like Laurel's chances in that one, which brings me to if there's a Howard-Laurel semi, that really should give Rasan Matthews cause for concern. I know he likes his guy. I mean, we like their team, but Laurel just has an edge to them. Like, they're not afraid of the smoke. They never duck the smoke. And they've played Seaford pretty tough twice. They played Caravel tough. They probably should have beat Caravel. They had Caravel down by double digits several times, but Caravel just kept coming back. Laurel's a team that doesn't duck the smoke regardless of who it is. So that's going to be an interesting bracket on the 2-3 side. The 1-4 probably doesn't have as much intrigue because it looks like it's more than likely that you'll probably get who's going to advance, who's expected, whether that's Seaford, whether that's Sal's or Tower Hill remains to be seen. That game deserves a larger venue. All of these games deserve a larger venue. And before I continue on to the girls bracket, let this be a reminder that Chris Stevens is a proponent of neutral site state tournament games. Neutral sites. Nobody should have home court advantage ever in a state tournament. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's football. I don't care if it's soccer. I don't care if it's volleyball, field hockey. Well, there's no such thing as home field advantage in the cross-country meet, but yeah, you get the picture. Nobody should have home court advantage in a state tournament setting. It should be fair and equal. Back in the day, you might have had a little more trouble planning these things out because there wasn't such things as Google Maps or MapQuest. For those of you who don't understand what life was like before Google Maps, let Chris Stevens, a veteran sports reporter of 21 years, explain it to you. There was a thing called MapQuest. This was back in the early days of the internet. Yes, I've been around that long. Back in the early days of the internet, MapQuest was something where Google Maps, you can do it on your phone now, but back then you had to go on the computer, go to mapquest.com, put in the address you're going from to where you're going, your destination, and then print the instructions out. And then you had to literally just watch where you're driving and flip the pages of the map and flip the directions to make sure you were going on the right path. Technology is a wonderful thing. That's all I'm going to say. So, but now you have the capability, is what I'm saying, to make these teams who are far apart meet in the middle. Like, you can have, let me pick a first round example. Like Dover versus Archmere could easily have that at Apple. Polytech versus Tatton could have it at Smyrna. Or even make it a doubleheader with Apple's gym. Caravel versus Cape. That could easily be definitely at Smyrna or Dover. And that could be fair distance for both teams. But yes, I'm a firm believer that because I've been watching the Delaware State basketball tournament since 1993, been around a long time, and home court advantage was not a thing back in those days, and it shouldn't be today. So yes, this is a neutral site stand account. Yes. On to the girls bracket now. Oh yeah, I'm going to give you guys my tournament picks for champions in the. Should I? I might. Lest I give people bulletin board material, because shout out to Dylan Shepard. He'll never let me forget that when I was on John Busby and Marty Sheehan's podcast last year, that he thought I was the one that said that all Seaford had to do was bring an extra bus. I didn't say that. It wasn't me. And Dylan never let me forget it. But shout out to Dylan and Dean Shepard. Great kids, by the way. Their father, Alfonso, raised them very well. Great kids. But yeah, Dylan wasn't going to let me forget that at first. I was like, yo, Dylan, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. But yeah, if I decide to do a favorites championship game, please don't take it to heart, kids, fans, parents, staff, administrators. Not slighting your teams. Just that I've seen everybody play this year for the most part, and I have opinions, but that doesn't mean my opinion is valid. There are outlets who might have a different champion. There are photographers who might have a different champion as well. We all can talk about it, but y'all the ones got to do it on the court. So don't take this to heart. Anyway, on to the girls bracket. Number 16, St. George's, Flight A runner-up, will face number 17, Red Lion, in the first round. That is going to be a game of whose hot scorer gets hot first. St. George's is going to be led by Aaliyah Richardson. Red Lion's going to be led by Delaney Burrows. And both of those girls can get 20, 25 points in a hurry. So it's going to be a matter of which scorer gets to scoring first. The winner of that one will face number 1 seed Sanford, 16-3, independent conference champs, the only team to beat Ursuline this year. And Sanford has had an interesting couple of weeks because Marcus Thompson has scheduled them in such a way because the independent conference just doesn't have the teams to stack up to what Sanford has this year. They've had an interesting couple of weeks because not only did they beat Ursuline and Tatnall, but they had to come from behind to beat Caravel on Monday, this past Monday. I did that broadcast with Sean Green for WDL. Oh, yeah. I'll be doing a Saturday quarterfinal, with Sean on WDEL. Once the quarters are set, I'll have that information for you. So if you want to listen to me talk basketball on the radio, this will be your chance if you missed any of the previous 3 opportunities that I was given. Yeah, Sanford, meanwhile, had to come back against Caravel. And Caravel is still very much the defending state champ, so we'll talk about them in a minute. But Sanford is coming into the tournament well-rested and well-tested, too. Like, they literally have seen the best of the best from out of state and the best from in-state. Not too many teams can say that. Only Ursuline and Caravel, honestly, can say that. So Sanford definitely has the best chance to win this thing. I'll go ahead and say it. You've got Dallas Pierce and Zaya Kilgo as your guards. You've got Jada Snow and Zoe Kashner as your forwards. Naomi Allen coming off the bench to spell them, giving defense and rebounding. Tyler Edwards is their gadget player. She can score, but she's definitely known as a defensive player because she made Gigi work a little bit when they played. I mean, Gigi still got hers because Gigi is Gigi. One of the most talented players we've seen come down the pipe probably since Elena Deladon, quite frankly. And when you have that sort of a rotation and they can stay out of foul trouble, because foul trouble almost killed them against Caravel on Monday, but if they can stay out of foul trouble, Marcus Thompson can pretty much say pick your poison. And that's why Sanford, I feel like is one of the teams that has the chance to win it. Number 9, Smyrna versus number 24, Tower Hill in the first round. That is going to be a matchup that solely depends on if Tower Hill can find someone else other than Caitlin Smith to score. Caitlin Smith, of course, became Tower Hill's latest 1,000-point scorer until Dean Shepard joined her the following evening. How cool is that 2 players from the same school, boys and girls, reached 1,000 points in their senior seasons? That's pretty awesome, by the way. Smyrna should win that one because they have a size advantage. Their guards are quicker, and they've waited for this. They missed the state tournament by like a quarter of a point last year. So going from that to being just outside of the first round bye and a matchup with AI DuPont awaiting, that should be an interesting one. Yes, the winner of this one gets number 8 AI. And I saw AI yesterday, and Lucky Price just gets the most out of that team because it looked like Apple was going to run away with that Blue Hen Conference Championship game in the fourth quarter, but everyone that stepped up for AI was who you expect. Kimani Woods just single-handedly took over on the defensive glass. My Trader got her offense going, and when she gets going downhill, boy, she's not stopping her. There's no stopping her. And Apple had 3 starters foul out, actually. That's the first time I've seen that from a team with their kind of, makeup all season long. Like, hashtag stop ref abuse. Shout out to my guy, Hiram Watley Sr. The running joke that we have, hashtag stop ref abuse. Yeah, we don't want to blame the referees for anything, but some of the calls on both games, quite frankly, for the Blue Hen were kind of head scratchers. But yeah, Apple lost 3 starters, and that's when AI said, oh yeah, we got y'all now. And that's pretty much what happened. So AI has as good a chance to make the court as I don't know what it'll look like against Sanford, but I know they'll make Sanford work. But yeah, AI Smyrna should be a great second round matchup. If that holds up, that'll probably be the one that we attend on Friday. Number 13, Polytech, Henlopen North runner-up will face number 20, Howard, Flight B runner-up. Curtis Clack's girls come into the tournament on a roll, winning 8 of their last 9. Polytech has a distinct size advantage. I mean, everybody's had a size advantage against Howard this year, but still now Howard still finished 14-6. So it can be an interesting matchup. Clack noted that when we talked on Friday in our live stream that he had actually scrimmaged against Polytech. So they know each other, they have some familiarity, but that was back in November. We're talking about March 1st now. Is Wednesday March 1st? Yeah, Wednesday is March 1st. Oh yeah, the girls tournament starts on a Wednesday this year. I'm surprised they did that because last year it was girls first round on Monday, boys first round on Tuesday. Girls second round on Wednesday, boys second round on Thursday. Girls quarters on Friday, boys quarters on Saturday. Now instead, the girls quarters are going to be on Monday. So yeah, if you're like us in the media and you may have another job, prepare for a long day when we get to the state tournament. The winner of that will get number 4, Tatnall. Tatnall, of course, is led by 1,000-point scorer Emma Kirby, Callie Clayton, Cherish Bryant, Claire Watson, and Bree Gauthier. That's their big 5. I mean, that's their starting lineup, obviously. Like, Tatnall can survive if they stay out of foul trouble, all the way to the Final Four, I feel like. So we'll see how that works. But that Polytech Howard game is just going to be one of those games where 2 teams don't know each other and probably won't have a firm grasp on how the other plays until probably the second half of the game. So that one could be up in the air. Number 12, Delmarva Christian, ESIAC, runner-up, will face number 21, Middletown, who, of course, was another team who just missed out on the tournament by a fraction of a point last year. They're in it this year. Delmarva Christian has Ainsley Bell, 1,000-point scorer, guard Journey Handy. Middletown's going to be led by senior forward Sanai Savage. That's another game where neither one of those teams know that much about each other, so one could go either way. The winner gets number 5, defending state champion Caravel Academy Buccaneers, led by first-year head coach Larry Banks. They'll be led by the guards Josiah Crawford, Speedy Wilson, and Nia Price. First-year forward Bryson Strickling has come along very well. She'll probably end up being their post presence for offense. Defensively, Coach Banks can still rely on Janiyah Gale and Layla Glover to make things difficult for post players on the other team, but Strickling's probably going to be the girl they turn to for offense in the paint. Number 15, St. Elizabeth, 10-10. Will face Early College High School, 17-3, Henlopen South runner-up. That's an impressive thing for a program that young. They have 1 senior. I think they have like 6 or 7 sophomores and a couple of freshmen too. So it seems like Early College is built for the long haul. That'll be an interesting first test for them as a program. I don't know if they'll be able to overcome the inexperience, even though they'll have the depth, because right now, St. E is what Doug Collins once said about Michael Jordan: get Erica Huggins the ball and get the you-know-what out the way. And Sticks has probably played herself on the first team, quite frankly. There hasn't been a player tasked with, in the middle of the season, mind you, she lost one girl to, being dismissed from the team. She lost another player, Farrah White, who had a concussion, had her nose broken, is not going to play again. That sucks, because Farrah was one of the underrated players in the state. I felt like, people overlooked her because of her size, because she was a dog. And if she plays the whole season, St. E is still a Final Four favorite. But it's just going to be Erica Huggins and get out of the way. And somehow if Early College can slow her down, they'll have a shot. But St. E probably still has some more tournament experience. That might be more helpful for them and head coach Joe Ferranti. The winner of that will get number 2, Ursuline. 19-1, Catholic Conference champs. Only one loss, of course, that was to Sanford. And this is where their time of reckoning is going to be. I mean, we knew that Ursuline team was just going to be lights out up until a point in the regular season. But this is where we find out if this is a dynasty in the making. You know, you have the eighth graders, Giselle Banks and Taylor Brown. You've got your senior leadership from Hannah Kelly. You can rely on guards like Abby Grillo to get buckets, Emma Anthony, Jordan Tate in the post, Shamir Marshall brothers and Jasmine Wesley coming off the bench. This is a deep Ursuline team. I mean, they didn't win 19 games by accident. I mean, you don't win 19 games by just like, trip, fall, land over somebody, So that is going to be insane. He played them tough the first time around, but then again, they had more players. I don't know if that'll hold this time around. If it's just, if Coach John Noon is just going to say, attack, when it goes to Erica Huggins. But, you never know. I'm sorry I was loud. I don't know where the heck that came from. I'm sorry. Number 10, Delaware Military Academy will face number 23, Wilmington Charter, in a game that is a rematch, a Diamond State Conference rematch of a conference matchup that happened just a couple of weeks ago. Maya Hill hit 2 free throws after the buzzer to win that game for DMA. And in my preseason previews, I said DMA had to find some consistency because they won the first 6 last year. They were like 2-6 at one point, and then they won their final 6 to finish 12-8. They pretty much were strong throughout the season and earned that 14-5. They were pretty close to a bye too. Wilmington Charter is well coached by Dr. Eileen Volz. They have Danielle Conze as their leading scorer. They can rely on Veronica Sanchez Wright for post scoring. That's going to be a good game. That game, that's another one that could go either way. Of course, it win either way when Maya Hill hit those free throws at the buzzer. It was a 1-point win. So the winner of that will have to enjoy that victory shortly because they will get number 7 Appoquinimink in the second round, the Flight A champions. And Appo, despite, the collapse yesterday at the Henlopen, is still a team that could make a deep state tournament run. Their guards are just better than anyone else's, probably without outside of Sanford and Ursuline. Probably Smyrna's too, honestly. If you had to make me pick 4 girls teams with the best guards, or 5, there's 5. There's Sanford, there's Ursuline, there's Smyrna, there's Appo, and there's AI. That's my list with the best guards. But yeah, Appo is definitely going to be smarting after that Blue Hen loss, and they'll be ready for either DMA or Wilmington Charter. And they're probably just team speed is just going to be a big thing because Appo plays fast. When they're out of foul trouble, they're a tough team to stop. Number 14, St. Mark's versus number 19, Dover. Dover finished 9-11, but they have more bonus points than anybody, boys or girls, in the state. That's a credit to not just scheduling because they played a couple of the better Eastern Shore teams at the Governor's Challenge, but they also had a great, battle with Henlopen North teams. Henlopen North was really strong this year. People will probably look at this, look at the brackets and say, well, why, were Ursuline and Cape so close in the points? I'll break it down to you like this. The teams behind Cape Henlopen, the immediate 3 behind Cape, Polytech, Smyrna, Sussex Tech, they won 41 games. The teams that Ursuline usually plays twice every year, St. Mark's, St. E, Padua, they won 30 games. 41 is a lot more than 30. And that's why the point system was as close as it was. And that's why Cape is the number 3 seed. And that's who the winner of St. Mark's Dover will play. And Pat Woods deserves a ton of credit once again. And I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. This team has one senior with legit state tournament experience, Jayana Lee. That's it. That's the list. Everyone else is like sophomore, junior, first year. And the first year and sophomore and juniors are pretty doggone good. I mean, you got Amalia Fruitman, Faith Ray, Maya Maw, Hayden Hudson. Like, this is a team that if they get to the Final Four, you can't look past them. And yes, they have a size advantage. They have, something that could make Ursuline work a little harder. Appo could make Ursuline work a little harder, honestly. But again, we'll talk about that in a minute. Last matchup of the first round, number 11 Woodbridge, Henlopen South champions versus number 22 Seaford. The winner of that will get number 6 Archmere. Seaford's had an interesting season. It's been forfeit one night. It's been lose to ECHS the next, and it's beat up on everyone else, and then get into the tournament. Woodbridge has been consistent all year. They played Ursuline and Caravel pretty tough for about 2.5 quarters each. And if they could get a full four quarters, they can absolutely make the Final Four. Because the interesting thing is, going to Archmere is going to be a challenge for them, because Archmere is they will get number 6 Archmere. The winner of this will get number 6 Archmere, is what I'm trying to say. Archmere is a tough place to play. Dea Pisani has his girls ready to play. They're well disciplined. They stick to their game plan. They never panic. And for a team as good as Woodbridge to have to make that long behind drive from Bridgeville and Greenwood to basically Kennett Square. No, not Kennett Square. Claymont. It's going to be a challenge. But that's a team that is going to be an interesting second round matchup as well. You can pick your poison. You can pick a winner out of that one and not be surprised which other team wins it. But yeah, if Cape and Woodbridge both advance beyond the second round, that's a quarterfinal. And of course, they just played yesterday in a game that Cape won by a single point. So that is going to be a game, if it happens, is going to be an interesting matchup. So if you're asking me, Chris Stevens, I don't, I'm just one person. I'm just one person with a camera, with a vlog, with a website, with a laptop. I just go to the games, I observe, I write, and talk about what I see. So if you're asking me to pick a boys' favorite, you're asking me to pick at least 4. Because I have 4 off the top of my head that I feel like can win the whole thing rather easily. Number 1 is Middletown. I was talking about it yesterday with Lucky Price, my guy G Johnson, my guy C Dub, shouts out to him. I said, what the old saying is, in terms of Middletown, I'm going to break it down to you like this. You know the old saying, bring a knife to a gunfight? Well, with Middletown, you're bringing a 38 against a bunch of AK-47s. Like, that team is just loaded with weapons. You can go to Marcus Edmond. You can go to Jaden McGee. You can go to Jaden Rogers. You can go to Amir Cunningham. Amir Cunningham had 15 points in the second half yesterday against Howard. And I don't think anybody was banking on Amir Cunningham to be the bucket in that second half. But he was. He was. And Amir Height, add him in. That's a team that you can take away maybe one guy, maybe 2, but you can't take away 3, 4, 5, and 6. That's why Middletown's my favorite. Number 2, Seaford. Seaford has just about the same makeup as Middletown. You count to Brent Ricketts, Kareem Bolden, Cashmere Wise, the Matthews brothers, Mikkel Hubbard. That should be the state final. If it's in God's will, and I'm not even that religious, but if it's in God's will, Middletown Seaford would be a state championship game. But can't take away from the fact that Sally's has a ton of depth. That's another pick. That's 3. And they look like a team that still has like I said, they have a giant chip on their shoulder after what happened in the state tournament championship game last year against Tario. It doesn't really take much to motivate young people when you have a coach like Taylor Trevison, who just always is in their ears anyway. But I'm quite sure 79-43 is still very much on the minds of those guys who have returned. So don't discount Sally's. Discount Sally's at your peril, because that is still a pretty doggone good basketball team. And my final top 4 of boys basketball teams who could win the state tournament. Mind you, there are about 10 or 12 that could win the whole thing. That it wouldn't surprise me, but I'm just going to stick with 4. And I'm going with Sanford. Yes. Everybody's like, well, Sanford wins every year. They did understand Waterman. Ty Perry, this is his second year as head coach. He's got that team molded in his personality now. He says Stan Waterman's DNA is still in their locker room, and that's not a bad thing. But they still have Ty's personality now. Like, they're aggressive. They're hungry. They're cerebral. They can go. And when they got Chris Stanford back, which gives them a size advantage over most teams. Tommy Vaughn and Deion Polk in the backcourt. Jordan Spencer coming off the bench. Sean Forrest with senior leadership. They'll be a tough out. And, them versus Middletown in the quarters is going to be a fun watch. Absolutely going to be a fun watch. So looking forward to that. So yes, those are my top 4. Like I said, there are 10 or 12. There are 10 or 12 teams on the boys' side that can win it, and it wouldn't surprise me. Those are my top 4. Middletown, Seaford, Sally, Sanford. My girls' picks, honestly, it ain't but two. It's the same two it's been all year, quite frankly. You can either have Sanford or you can either have Ursuline. Anything else would be a shock. And this is not me disrespecting the girls. Don't get me wrong. I've covered more girls games than anybody else in the state this year. So I know what I'm talking about. But yeah, it's gonna Sanford and Ursuline, anything outside of that as a championship game would be a bit of a stunner. And I say that, and I want to put respect on Caravel's name because they have played Sanford and Ursuline tough. And Caravel had a flu bug that was going through the team when they were playing Ursuline. So that game, if it turns out to be a semifinal, which it could be, no, actually, no, it can't be. It can't be because Ursuline and Cape and Ursuline and Caravel are on different brackets. But yeah, or it could be another Caravel Sanford rematch in the Final Four. And that game, like I said, that game on Monday was in doubt until the final 2 minutes on Sanford's side. So let me put respect on Caravel's name. They're still the defending state champions until somebody beats them. But it feels like Sanford and Ursuline are on a collision course as they've been all year. They met the first time. Sanford was able to use senior experience to win that one out. Ursuline's probably going to go into this tournament just seeing red or navy blue and gold, as it were, because they want to see Sanford again. So those are my two picks. Like anything outside of that, we'll probably just have to crown them probably the biggest upset winner in the history of the state tournament. But yeah, I'm not going to pick a complete winner until we get a little further down the bracket. Like honestly, who says that number 24 can't beat 9? Who's to say that number 16 can't beat number 1? Who's to say that number 14 can't make a run all the way to the semifinals on either side? That's why they play the games, man. That's what Chris Berman used to say on NFL Primetime. That's why they play the games. And that is how I feel like the state tournament is going to shake out. You can pick, like I said, 10 or 12 teams on the boys' side. Ain't but 2 on the girls' side. But it's still going to be a fun state tournament both ways, and we're looking forward to that. Which brings me to my closing remarks. If you've ever listened to the Steve Harvey Morning Show, wow, I've been talking for 40 minutes. Oh my God. I hate when the shows are this long. I'm sorry, y'all. Like, I literally like to keep it within 20 to 25 minutes, but we're previewing the state tournament, so of course it took a little longer. But yeah, my closing remarks. If you missed it on Twitter on Friday, I tweeted from the First State Hoops Report Twitter account because I am First State Hoops Report that I thought it was interesting that DIAA didn't have the stream of the tournament. I mean, the tournament on the committee meeting like they did the previous few years. And of course, Archmere, yeah, they tweeted out who they were playing, and then another news outlet said, "Oh, delete it. We're doing a reveal show at 2:30." And then in the emails, it said it was DIAA doing the show. So here's my thing. And I'm gonna address the tweet that came from the official account of this media outlet, by the way. That my thing is, there's more than one outlet in the state of Delaware that would like information regarding basketball. Like First State Hoops Report is a basketball outlet. I mean, it's in the name. Hoops, basketball. You get it. You understand. And for people to make it seem like, let me slow down and say this. Butch Comegys, of course, who is the son of the legendary News Journal photographer Fred Comegys, said he used to call me whenever we would do games together. He was like, Chris, you're old school, so I'm going to call you Old School C. You do journalism the old way, the old school way. And I used to laugh at Butch when he said that, but the more I think about it, like, yeah, I am. Because I think there's absolutely a conflict of interest. And yes, I'm saying it. And I'm not a hard person to find. I'm at a ton of games. So you see me, I mean, you know who I am. You know where I'm at. I don't duck smoke either. If there's a problem you have with me, and I've said it before, I've said it about another person who tried to big time me at the front door to Chase Fieldhouse back in December. And I'll say it again about any other outlet. I'm not a hard person to find. We can talk. Like, if you can get reckless. I mean, if that's your choice, but we can talk like adults. But I'm just going to go ahead and say it. You can't position yourself as free media, as free press, and then do state media type things. That's just not how it works. That's a conflict of interest. That's how I was taught in journalism school. Yes, I have a degree in journalism, by the way. So I know what I'm talking about. So And for the official account to say, this was a great event for the kids, hashtag 2 mad people or whatever. Subtweets are unprofessional. Number one. Number two, I'm not mad. I knew it was about me, so I'm confident in saying that it was about me. But mad would be a state of me just being, pound my desk, cuss, throw stuff. No, annoyed is more like it, and emboldened to call out the BS where I see it. You can't position yourself as free press, go to all the games and everything, and then do state media type stuff and be in the pocket of the state state arm of high school athletics, because you're kind of like monopolizing the market. And there's still rules against monopolies, believe it or not. So you can call me mad, you can complain, but I'm not going to stop until I get the respect that First State Hoops Report deserves. That's just how it works. Like, we can, we speak to each other at games, but if I have to, if y'all want to distance yourselves from me, cool. Because I'm not here for y'all. I'm here for the game. I'm here for the kids. I'm here for the parents that want to see their kids be spotlighted and not have to worry about, and if they make a mistake, then they become like the topic of conversation when any other time they do something right, they're ignored. That's not what I'm here for. Like, if I had gotten into journalism in 2002 to make friends, then I probably should have quit a long time ago. Honestly, if I got into this to make money, I probably should have quit a long time ago. But regardless, this is about the kids for me. And y'all can say it's about the kids, but good and well that if we were afforded that information ahead of you, you would not be making snide little hide, throw stones, hide your hands subtweets. But it's cool, because again, I'm not here for y'all. I'm here for the kids that play. I'm here for the coaches that coach. I'm here for the fans that love to watch their kids play. And that's all that matters. Whenever a parent, a coach, or somebody comes up to me and says, First State Hoops Report is a great thing, then I've done my job. Because I'm not here for the foolishness, and I'm here to call it out whenever I see it. And so if you feel like I'm going away at some point, I'm not. I put too much time into this. I've invested, half of my life has been spent, because I'm 41. Yes, I'm old. So more than half of my life has been spent covering high school, college, and some cases professional sports. I've done it all. I've seen it all. I have too much respect for this industry. I have too much love for this industry to let people just constantly play in the face of the industry and play in the face of the people who still take this industry seriously. So you can be one, you can be the other, but you can't be both. There's an integrity issue at play. And if you're making subtweets about somebody rightfully calling out your nonsense, then you're very low on integrity. That's going to do it for this week's edition of Holding Court. Looking forward to seeing y'all in the gyms this week. We're in one and done season. Win or go home. That's it. That's the list. Those are your options. Looking forward to seeing you all in the gyms. Once again, our Facebook page, our Twitter page, our Instagram account, our email address, our website, all be in the description below. Thank you all for watching this week of Holding Court. May the best teams win in the state tournament. Good luck to the 24. Looking forward to seeing y'all. Peace out.